So what's your side of the story?
Man, it's been what, 22 years? I finally get to share my theory. A lot of people believe that I was just pulled from the card circuit in 2002 because of a slight likeness to illusionist Uri Geller. Yeah, that's not the whole story. I believe, amidst my research as a human, I discovered a way for humans to access 100% of their brain. I fully believe that they turned me into a Kadabra to silence me from sharing that information. In fact, I believe that every Abra is a child with extrasensory powers that could hone in on what I learned, that they transformed into a Pokemon before they could discover what I had learned. This connection to us and magicians' names, although it makes sense to so many people, is just a cover-up to make our research and our powers sound less realistic. It almost makes us sound like a sideshow. I've always believed that if I was able to evolve into an Alakazam, that I would harness enough power and knowledge to be able to transform myself back into a human. And I think they know this, and that's why they made Alakazam a trade to evolve Pokemon. And there's the thing right there. That is why I did something I'm not proud of. A boy with psychic abilities suddenly transforms into a Kadabra while assisting research into extrasensory powers. But was it sudden, or was it all planned out? Pokemon Emerald suggests that the kid transforms into Kadabra as a result of helping with psychic research. Pokemon Sun, on the other hand, suggests that the kid simply lost control of his psychic powers. Now, both of these can be true simultaneously, right? It's possible the kid was researching psychic powers and in the long run experimented with and lost control of these psychic powers. Kid learns about powers, kid loses control of powers, kid transforms. In the world of theories, this is the simplest, makes most sense theory. That's what the Pokedex suggests. As for the name likeness to famous magicians and illusionists, Dr. Lava covers on Twitter, these are simply head nods to famous magicians Edgar Cayce, Uri Geller, and Harry Houdini. However, Kadabra seems to have a different argument here. Cayce. Again, just they try and cover it up with a magician's name connection, but Cayce, I knew Cayce. He was one of the younger research assistants that helped me in the lab. He was such a smart kid. He had told me he cracked the case on human teleportation, and then just one day, he doesn't show up. The professor says Cayce's moved on, decided to focus his research somewhere else, and that just didn't make sense to me. And then one night, I'm walking home outside my house, I see a Pokemon I've never seen before, and it's trying to make these sounds at me, and I have no idea of what it's trying to communicate to me at all. And then it starts teleporting, and I knew exactly what it was trying to say at that moment. Clearly, there are two sides to the same story. Pokemon's just trying to say this is a clever Pokemon pulling silly antics, while Kadabra begs us to understand that there is deeper lore to the situation at hand. And speaking of, we never rounded back to when Kadabra said that he did something he wasn't proud of. Here's what Kadabra had to say. This is not easy for me to talk about.
Take your time.
The Pokedex mentions that one day a boy suddenly woke up in his bed and was a Kadabra. And that's not exactly the truth. I needed to solve this situation. And in order to solve this situation, I needed to become an Alakazam. And in order for me to become an Alakazam, I needed to be traded. And the only way to be traded is by having a trainer. I thought the quickest way I could do this was to get rid of a family's child and convince that family that not only am I their child, but use my psychic powers to convince them I'm no longer worth looking after and to trade me away.
Wow.
Yeah. So Kadabra's dark truth is supposedly he snuck his way into this family hoping to find a way to be traded, evolving into his smartest form to right the wrongs of what's happened. Now, the way he did this sounds pretty sinister. Is it possible he's really not trying to right these wrongs? Is it possible he's really just off the rails and trying to use the most power for malicious intentions? Is this a kid trying to fix the wrongs of the past? Or is this just a superhuman with tons of power that needs to be stopped? Some other things to note. Everywhere Kadabra goes, he messes with the TVs that he passes by. Now, is this just due to an overflow of immense psychic energy? Or is this maybe the doings of the child that he got rid of, haunting him everywhere that he goes? He also makes clocks run backwards. Again, is this just an overflow of psychic power? Or is this a kid trying to turn back the clock to before he was a Pokemon? And one last thing, and maybe the most important thing, this is all documented in the Pokedex, meaning that somebody out there witnessed one night a kid randomly transform into a Kadabra. Now, there is speculation on the internet that these Pokedex entries are written by the kids in the game, and although there's plenty of proof that the professors write Pokedex entries, there's also acknowledgement in some games that the kids do assist in the Pokedex research. So who wrote Kadabra's Pokedex entry? Was it maybe the professor that the kid assisted in psychic research, trying to create a quick cover-up while he rid the world of psychic gifted children? I mean, it makes total sense, he would have known the situation. Or could it have maybe been written by Kadabra, making one final dex entry to try and fully convince the family he was now a part of that this really was their reality? Beyond this, do you believe that Kadabra's intentions are even good? Do you believe the professor may have been trying to tame Kadabra's psychic abilities by transforming him? Who do you think's really in the right here? Maybe there's something here. Or maybe I'm just looking too much into the lore. Either way, goodbye forever.